taste my coffee. Coffee is good. Strong like bull. Put coffee down without spilling it in gonads. Oh, it's hot. Hot, hot, hot. Oh, it spilled in my gonads. It has to as well. Naughty coffee. Anyway. I'm going to talk about something that's pretty serious, I guess. I know you've pretty much heard jokes and stuff like that crap from me, but it's something that I'm going to discuss that I'm just going to get into it. What the hell? So at some point in our lives as human beings, men, women, we all kind of suffer from either a mild or a serious form of mental illness. I think there's quite a large percentage of the population suffers with it on a day-to-day basis, globally, not just here or the UK or America or whatever, globally. Now when I say mental illness, people go, oh my goodness me, he's mental illness, he's said the bad words. You know, sometimes you get a little bit blue, a little bit down, a little bit depressed. Mild form. Don't worry about it. You just deal with it. You get on with it. And then there's worse cases, obviously, that need full-time medication. And people living with this, it's hard for them, and my heart goes out to you. It really does. And I am not making light of mental illness in any way, shape, or form. Lord knows we've all got depressed at some point, a bit down, or blue, whatever. So, and I am not an expert. I'm a long way from it. But what I want to talk about, what I want to touch on, and I'm just going to touch on it because the ins and the outs and getting all the facts and information in front of me, I haven't got. I only go from what I know and what I feel, I guess. What I'm going to talk about is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD as it's commonly known. Now when you think of PTSD, you think of Vietnam, don't you? Think of teenage soldiers going to fight in a war the other side of the world, being drafted to go and fight and seeing horrific things. And you know, it's not just Vietnam, it's any kind of war. It's horrific to go through what people go through, servicemen and women go through on a daily basis through any kind of theatre of war is just, it's not something I can even comprehend. So I'm not making light of any service personnel out there who have fought for their country, fought for a cause, and come out of it the other side not quite wired up right. And that sounds like it's taking the piss. It's not. It's just being straight. Something's not right in your own mind, and you're dealing with the backlash, the backdrop of war. And it's horrible. It's horrific to try and comprehend what they go through, what these brave people go through. But on the other hand, and this is a different perspective, it's my own personal perspective. Service personnel, and I'm going to be straight up here, it's police, which I'm an ex-cop. Police, fire, ambulance, medical staff, corrections officers, people that are dealing with often traumatic experiences on a day-to-day basis for a job. And I'm not just talking about war that can last months, years. I'm talking a career, a lifetime of dealing with something that is just out of the ordinary for everyday people who work a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday type of job. Which anybody who's got a job nowadays is a hero anyway. So, from a police perspective, from an ex-cop's perspective, I served in the UK police service, and I saw a lot of stuff, and I dealt with a lot of stuff on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of a UK cop's job is predominantly paperwork. I would probably say 75, maybe even more, high percentage is paperwork. It may have changed. I don't know since I've left. It may have changed. And most cops out there that are out doing the job will actually want to be out doing the job. They don't want to be driving a desk and driving a pen. They want to be out doing what the public want them to be doing, which is out on the street, catching bad people doing bad things, and stopping bad people doing bad things. So, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. If you deal with some type of situation that is not the norm, the effect of it upon your personal beliefs and standards can be far-reaching and ever-present in your day-to-day life thereafter. So, I mean, like I say, I'm not an expert. I can only go on personal experience. To be a police officer, you get used to a certain level of pressure and stress that is associated with that line of work. To deal with bad people doing bad things day in, day out takes its toll. And most cops who actually stay in the job and go on to retire at age 55, I don't know, it's maybe even older now, go into other lines of work thereafter just to top up their pension or keep them busy. Most, I think, probably struggle or are happy to be out of it, but I think a lot struggle to actually find a job that gives them that certain level of stress that they've learned to live with, that they've learned to cope with, and that they actually need, I think, sometimes to function. And I liken it to, and again, I'm not a drug addict, never have been, never will be. Heroin users. The first time they try heroin, it's wow, it's the best, it's the buzz, it's like, you know, an amazing feeling, and every hit thereafter is never as good as the first, and they're always chasing that dragon, and eventually it gets to the stage where they're so addicted to the drug that they need it just to exist, just to be normal, just to have a normal life. Although what is normal? And I think in some way, shape or form, that's very similar to a police officer and a lot of service personnel, that they have that certain level of stress that becomes not so much addictive but necessary part of life for them to survive and thrive in that environment. So side effects of PTSD for a cop. Just going to get these motorcycles past me. Side effects or long-term effects. Well, I don't think it's necessarily PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder that manifests in such a way, but I think it's just as a matter of the job that to trust anyone who is not a police officer, not a colleague, it's very difficult to do, and I think that's synonymous with any kind of police work. Is anybody outside of it is very difficult to trust someone, to trust other than your colleagues. And I think that's a lot of the time you find a lot of cops will socialise with their own, because it's a comfortable environment. It's people that do the job day in, day out, like they do, and who understand the strains that they're all under, and are able to deal with the pressures. I suppose get drunk and let it out. But you walk away from the job, you retire, and your circle of friends may stay the same, but they enlarge to a bigger group of people who've never been in that position, never been a police officer, never served. And they don't really understand the psyche or the mentality of a cop, I don't think. And it takes a very flexible and versatile person to actually slip into a different life and not have flashbacks, I suppose, or thoughts of what they did. And that's what I'm kind of struggling with, I guess, at the moment. I've been out of the job nearly, well, it is 10 years, over 10 years now. But I've never found a job since that gives me that same level of satisfaction. That buzz, I guess, the different day. Every day is different, and I hate jobs where I come in to work and I know exactly what I'm doing all day. I really find those difficult to actually deal with because I'm not used to that. All I want is something different. I need to find that kind of that buzz, I guess, in work. Another side effect or part of PTSD for me is a social or relationship aspect to the job. You don't tend to get very close to people. Striking up good and honest and long-lasting, deep and meaningful relationships is difficult. It's quite hard, I find, anyway. Testament to that is the loss of my marriage. I have only myself to blame. I can't blame any other party. There's two people involved in it, yes, but I had a choice to make. And for whatever reason, I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold that marriage down. So that disassociation with close relationships, for me, I really feels a side effect of it. And these are just two really very minor aspects that, in all honesty, in essence, you can deal with. And how do you deal with them? Very easily. The thing on the front of our face is called a mouth. Just below our nose, we are capable of articulating thoughts and feelings via a verbal response to questioning. I.e., let's shorten it down. Talk about your feelings, things that are going on in your life. Talk to somebody you trust. And I know trust is a difficult thing to actually quantify. I don't know who I trust out there. Our life partners, our friends, our relationships, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, our wives, our husbands are actually there. They're the best source of communication, of actually getting out there and talking over your feelings. Oh, we live in a society nowadays where it's like, oh, I feel so distraught and oh my God, I feel so offended. Oh, shut up. Harden the fuck up. Yeah, we live in that kind of society where you got people saying, oh, just suck it up, princess, get on with it. And unfortunately that albeit, you know, a lot of people out there, men especially, have that kind of mentality. And we do. We're assholes in that respect. It's just not the right way to deal with any kind of problem. Because you know what? You do that, you bottle it up, and eventually it's going to explode and manifest its way in out there in violence, in aggression, in the loss of friendship, the loss of marriages, the loss of family. So talk about your problems. A talk is easy. Find somebody that you trust. Talk. Just talk. You don't have to get a lot of information out there, but you can get a hell of a lot of satisfaction from just sharing your problems. And we talk about PTSD being, services, military, police, medical, fire service, corrections, all those that are in service in traumatic situations on a day-to-day basis, life-threatening situations, highly stressful situations. That doesn't mean to say that anybody else out there doesn't or is not susceptible to be suffering from PTSD in some way, shape or form. Mr. and Mrs. Joe Blogs, 9 to 5 job. Get up in the morning, have breakfast, get the kids ready for school, send them out the door to school, give them a lift to school, drop them off at school, go to work, do an 8-hour shift at work, same job, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, get home, feed the kids, send the kids to bed after a shower, have an argument with your husband, wife, whatever, sit down and talk, whatever. That's your day-to-day life. What if something was to happen that was a little bit out of the ordinary, a very stressful kind of situation? It could be anything. It could be a car accident. It could be somebody abusing you in the street. It could be absolutely anything out of the ordinary that has an effect upon you personally to such an extent that it becomes all-consuming, that it affects your day-to-day life, that affects your day-to-day living. Could that be classified as PTSD? Yeah, post-traumatic stress. And the disorder part is the fact that you cannot return to normality until this issue has gone. Post, after, traumatic, a traumatic experience in your life, the stress it causes you that leads to a disorder in your life. It's real simple. And it's real simple to talk about it as well. A release, a valve, somewhere that you can just let it go, talk about it, get it out in the open, find ways of dealing with it so that it doesn't manifest its way into your life to such a degree that it takes over your life. It's really easy to talk about it, it really is. It's harder to actually talk about it and deal with it. And that's a challenge for anybody that's suffering any kind of disorder, a mental disorder in their life. I openly admit to the fact that I have issues that I need to talk about, and I do talk about them. God, you're listening, aren't you? It affects your life on a day-to-day basis, and I'd hope that you don't suffer in silence. So, upshot of today, if you've managed to get through this far in the video, is open up and talk. Talk to people that care for you and that you care about. You just never know. You might find that they're your best confident and best source of solving your problems. Failing that, speak to a qualified counsellor. Get out there. Find somebody who will listen. But don't suffer in silence. Deal with it. Deal with it proficiently and effectively. Till the next time.